Ways that you can support the podcast is by purchasing or picking up our limited edition apparel. The shirt that I have on right now is one of the only shirts that we brought back for a second time. Normally we'll never do that, but the only reason we brought this one back for a second time is it sold out within 6 hours. So we brought this one back. We also got a second one that we just dropped. It's our, I guess, just Halloween edition shirt. Go to elitefts.com or go to the link in the description. This really does help us out because this directly supports the Table Talk podcast. Thank you guys. Enjoy the show.
Hello there. My name is Bryce Krawczyk. I'm a Canadian powerlifter in the IPF, and I've been powerlifting now for 11 or 12 years, competing, going to Worlds for 4 or 5 years, and like anybody else, I've accumulated a good number of injuries. Anybody who's maybe seen some of our content on our channel over at Calgary Barbell probably has seen me deal with a hip issue that plagued me for about 7 years, and most recently, a knee injury that I've been dealing with for a year and a half now. So I wanted to take an opportunity here to just kind of talk through the process of getting past injuries and finding ways to work around injuries instead of through them. And what I mean by that is, for example, with my knee, there was a period of time where squatting was just an absolute no-go. It wasn't going to happen. It hurt like hell every time I did it, and I couldn't do it. So instead of forcing the issue and trying to feel like I needed to do squats, otherwise I wasn't progressing, otherwise I wasn't going to come back and get back to where I want to be, I broke it down to a regression, right? And I think that's the big thing to try to figure out when you have any kind of injury or pain experience is, what is the regression of the movement that I want to eventually be able to be back to be doing, full on without pain. Working backwards from there and breaking the movement down by altering either the load via the weight on the bar or the range of motion. For example, if you are, in pain in your hip or back and you can't do squats and it hurts at depth, one thing you can do is a high pin squat, right? You squat above the point where it hurts. You're going to be able to use some load. You're going to be able to desensitize that pattern to the point where it starts to feel better. And then you can start lowering the pins and lowering the pins and lowering the pins and get back to a full range of motion free squat. With my knee injury specifically, it got to the point where I couldn't even, I could barely move it. I was having trouble walking around the block. So one of the things I had to do was to try to get the range of motion back. And I did that basically by kneeling and just sitting on my knees, trying to find a full range of motion in flexion and in extension. So I would sit on my knee and I would basically lean into it to see, how much range of motion could I get that day without making the pain worse. And I think that's another part of this is, as you're working through these movements and finding progression back towards where you want to be, it's really, really important to try not to re-aggravate things. And it's going to be tempting to push. And another thing is that chances are you are going to have some of those setbacks. Recovery from injury and, much like powerlifting and progress and powerlifting overall is not linear. It's very much a thing where you're going to have those setbacks. So avoid pushing too far too fast. Take your time and understand that sometimes the regression is going to be way farther back than you want to be. But also, if you've been doing this for any length of time, you're going to be right back on top way quicker than you think. So give yourself the appropriate amount of time to work around injuries, not through them. And you'll be surprised by how little strength you lose if you can treat it effectively, get back to being pain-free, and then get back to training.
Dave Tate from Elite FTS. Last year, we partnered with Ken Kanakin to co-host the Swiss Symposium. It's built on hypertrophy and sport medicine for strength athletes and practitioners to come together in one place, which will be the Columbus Hilton at Easton. You are going to learn how to level up your training based upon the success and failures of others. You have to stay on top of your game if you want to be able to make the success and move forward at the pace that you want. Just to name a few of the presenters that will be presenting, we're going to have Matt Winning, Brian Carroll, Eric Serrano, Jim Wendler. That's just a few. These experts will be presenting on low back injury and prevention, exercise selection, as well as a business, steroid recovery, and restoration panel. If you want to network with one of the experts that we have presenting, we're going to have people there to be able to help you do that. To register for the Swiss Symposium, go to the elitefts.com website, look for the banner on the homepage, click that, we'll see you there.